Hey Chicago, what do you say? This is the CHGO Cubs Postgame Podcast. I'm Cody, not Luke Stuckmeyer, who's on vacation. The Cubs are now 0-2 when Luke Stuckmeyer goes on vacation. I'm not mad about it. You can follow me on Twitter at Cody_CHGO. Joined by our friend Jared, who's in because Luke Stuckmeyer's not here. I'm just going to keep pointing out that Luke's not here because the Cubs keep losing without him being here.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like he needs to cut this vacation short and get himself back in here.
You can follow Jared at J Wyllys.
That's correct.
WYLLYS. Jared, for CHGO, if you don't know, he covers both Cubs and White Sox from the ballpark most days when he is doing stuff for us. So he's stepping in for basically just to do postgame with me tonight. Ryan's going to join us from the ballpark later. In the post-game podcast as always. And yeah, Cubs lose 8-5 tonight at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. The vibes are once again not good. Cubs fall to 4 under now? Is it
4 under? Yeah, so 37 and 41. And as we were talking about earlier, I think this will put them 4.5 back.
Mm-hmm.
And at a time where the division looks like it's within reach. You don't want to look too far ahead, but you've got some games in Milwaukee coming up next week, and it's a spot where if they can salvage the last game of this series and then do well against Cleveland over the weekend, you're setting yourself up nicely. But
yeah, man,
it's they need that starting pitching to get things in line.
Yeah, we'll talk about Drew Smyly here in a bit. I'm looking at the chat. Temple highlights, dude. I get it. I sent a tweet that I said the wrong name and I deleted it and I sent the right tweet. Congratulations, you caught it. All right, now stop. Thank you. I see Colin. I see our good friend Gerard. Tanya, she says therapy session. Cody, yes, there will be a therapy session. Twitter space on my way home tonight because I'm frustrated with the last 18 innings.
Got to do what you got to do.
Got to do what you got to do. I see you, Jack R. We are fine. Geez, he says relax. Listen, I get it. 4 games under. We're right there in the division race. Did fall a game back tonight. 4.5 back now in the NL Central. The Reds and the Brewers win. But if there's anything giving me any kind of optimism is that, do you think any of those teams are going to run away? No. Maybe the Reds if they figure out the pitching. They have the offense, but they don't have the pitching. Brewers, it's like the opposite. Can they get the offense to go with the pitching?
Right.
I don't know.
And if you look at, I tend to sometimes can get too fixed on certain numbers, but I like to look at run differential.
Yeah.
And if you look at their division, the Cubs are the only team in the division with a positive run differential, and they've got even after tonight, they've got a pretty sizable lead in that respect over everybody else. Now, obviously, that's not translating into as many wins as you'd like to see, but they are, for the most part, playing a lot of the kind of baseball that they need to play to win games. It's just some of it's just bad luck or bad timing and those kinds of things.
There was definitely some bad luck tonight offensively. We got a super chat from Joe. He says, we'll always have those 14 days in June. What was your favorite part of the 14 days in June?
June is not over.
It's not over. It's not over. But I hear you. I mean, in that 5th inning, they had a bigger they scored 3 runs? No, 2 runs because they had scored the first 2 runs were Jared Young's first career homer, and then Swanson hit one later in the game, and then in the 5th inning they finally started to get to Nola. They rung together a bunch of hits, but they didn't get the big hit. The biggest moment was Morel walking with the bases loaded, and it was like I remember being really hyped about it, even though all it did was make it 8-3 because he was down 0-2 in the count. Yes. Worked it to 3-2, worked the walk, and you still had 0 outs with your best hitters coming to the plate. And Ian Happ, he hits one hard up the middle. It hits the glove of the pitcher, gets knocked to, I think, second base. They go ahead and take the out because they're up 8-3. Whoever is at third scores. And then that basically the same type of thing happened the next batter. And the Cubs just didn't get the big hit to be able to drive in multiple runs. And it's kind of like the story of the season because we've talked about at ends about how there isn't a ton of power on this team. Of course, they hit 2 homers tonight, but of course, there's no one on base.
Solo homers, yeah.
So, like, it's kind of like, fuck us, right? But, like, that is the story. Like, when they have guys on base,
right.
Who's hitting the big homer? Who's hitting the one in the gap to clear the bases? And they needed that desperately in the 5th inning tonight, and they didn't get it. And
that's kind of like what we were just talking about, where in many ways they're doing the right kinds of things to win, but then when you have your big spot there in the 5th inning with the bases loaded, no outs, you get this incredible at-bat from Morel, down 0-2, draws a walk to drive in a run. That was the spot right there. And then you get a little bit of bad luck where like you said, it's off Nola's glove and it sets up that play perfectly. It's just sooner or later you'd like to think that across a baseball season you're going to have some innings like that go the other way, because I think the Cubs have seen a lot of that sort of thing, and not as much where they do get the hit that gets into the outfield and clears the bases and the kind of thing that we were all looking for in that spot. But there's also, I saw somebody mention it in the chat, but when you have Ian Happ coming up in some of those big spots and not getting the hits and not even giving you really like competitive at bats, and
he's been playing well of late, but the last 2 nights have been not great.
And it's not even, this isn't even a criticism of him specifically. It's just that it seems like you get those spots where the guy that you should be able to depend on to come through for you, it's just not happening.
Yeah. Fernando says Stuck doesn't like people sitting in his chair, and believe me, I'd rather be sitting in Jared's seat right now with Luke Stuckmeyer leading the show.
Well, isn't technically Luke's chair over there right now?
It could be, because we only have 2 seats here.
So let the record show.
Let the record show.
Yes, that Luke's chair is not. Luke's chair is not pictured.
Yeah. I also see Barb in the chat. Yes, Barb. Once again, we are live, and yes, that is Jared, who again usually reports from the ballpark. Does a lot of work at allchgo.com for us, so check him out.
Let's make sure we keep everything nice and tight for Barb's bladder tonight.
Especially for Barb. I know she needed us to end the show earlier last night. We'll try to keep it to an hour tonight for you, Barb.
Now, my guy Steven Nageshi has another super chat in here. We'll get to real quick. Mancini errors on Sunday will be remembered as the turning point of the season, and it's all going downhill now. It's funny that. I mean, I've heard a few Cubs fans already say that, because it does feel like that now because of the staunch difference between vibes, as you like to say, Cody, from Saturday, the first inning Sunday, they're up 4-0, and now everything has turned for the worse in 3 games. I put as our, the headline of the graphic of the show was jet lagged, because Jared and I had talked about it. It feels like they've lost something they had in Chicago. Before, at first they won a game in London. It's like, okay, we're still rolling. And now it does feel like the London trip has had an effect. Not trying to make excuses. No. It just feels that way.
Few things to respond to you. First off, hit the like button for Braggs, because he's doing an incredible job being our producer. Second, in regards to Mancini on Sunday, like we talked about it, or Corey and Brennan talked about it on Sunday. We talked a lot about Mancini last night because he struck out 3 times. I understand the frustration. The last 18 innings have been frustrating. The last 27 innings have been frustrating, right? But if you want me to just give it to you, okay. They were up 4-0. They gave up all those runs. And when that inning ended, it was still 4-3. The Cubs still led after the Mancini error. And they didn't add on runs after that. And Marcus Stroman didn't exactly have the best performance anyway. And when the Cardinals took the lead, it's not like they scored like 7 runs to make it like 10-4 or something like that. They won, 7-5?
Yeah.
They won the game 7-5. The Cubs had opportunities or chances, or just having the opportunity to score runs to actually win that game. Again, I understand that Mancini can't play first base anymore defensively and all that. But, I'm tired of that being, something to like give an excuse. Like the whole jet lag thing, it ain't for me. Like, I don't care. The Cardinals, they came back and they beat the Astros yesterday, and thankfully they blew the game tonight against them. So they came back and won a game. I don't care. I don't care. It's Major League Baseball. You come back from London. You know that this is one of the biggest stretches of the year. Pull your pants up and just win. That's what you're supposed to do. That's what you're supposed to do when you are a game or two out of first place. Now it's 4.5, and now you have to crawl. You have to gather yourself back up and bounce back again. I'm sorry, I'm not using this whole London jet lag thing as an excuse, and I'm tired of the Mancini thing being the turning point. Before this stretch they had in June, everyone was saying that the Drew Smyly perfect game when Yan Gomes almost ran him over was the turning point of the season because they played so bad after that until this point in June. They're 4.5 back in the division. They've lost 3 in a row. They have to find a way to get the starting pitching because the starting pitching the last 3 days hasn't been good, and they have to get the timely hits when they need it. That's how you win baseball games. That's how they won 11 of 13 or whatever it was. So start doing it again. It's that simple. It really is that simple to me.
Right, and I think to say at this point that to call anything a turning point is you're searching too hard for something, and I understand.
Like I get the frustration related to the Mancini thing. Like everyone, like the quote unquote vibes, as I say. Yes, I agree. Like since that moment, it feels like things have just been weird. But the Cubs, like they've had opportunities to win games. Maybe not necessarily tonight because the starting pitcher gave up 7 runs, but. Even yesterday, they lost 5-1. That's not an insurmountable amount that you can't come back from, right? And on Sunday especially. That Cardinals pitching staff, we've laughed about it plenty on this podcast about how their pitching staff sucks. And they couldn't score more than 4 or 5 runs on Sunday in London in a ballpark that was notably known for, where a lot of runs are being scored. It's not an excuse. I'm not making an excuse for them the last 3 days. Well, they just got to they have to play better. That's it's simply that. And I feel like David Ross would say the same thing. I feel like the players would say the same thing, and that's it.
Yeah, I mean, a few things about that. Number one, before yesterday's game, talked to David Ross, and I asked him the question about, hey, you've had the opportunity now to be a part of these like special games in 2 different occasions. They did the Field of Dreams game last year. Now they had this London series, and just asked him about like, okay, so on one hand, it's a really cool opportunity to be a part of this event and showcase the sport. But on the other hand, you have to manage just the travel that involves, especially with London. I was surprised to see that they only gave them 1 day off coming back. Yeah. But his answer was effectively like, hey, you got to put your big boy pants on and go out and win a game.
Yeah.
So, there's probably a little bit of jet lag, but these guys knew that they were going to be experiencing that long before this trip even happened. A lot of them talked about some of the stuff that they had done to try to manage that. So not a one of them mentioned that as a factor yesterday. I think what you look at instead is they faced a starting pitcher yesterday who was just lights out. We don't give enough credit to, sometimes it's just the other team has done such a good job that your guys are going to have a hard time. And so Suarez yesterday was lights out, and that's just, you face that every once in a while. Tonight you didn't get a couple of the timely hits when you needed them. So this isn't necessarily this is a turning point or this is a team that's so soft and weak that they can't handle traveling back from London a few days ago. This is, you faced good pitching, and then you missed one of your spots.
You have to remember the Phillies they've been playing really well in June. Right. And as much as I don't believe in them, like they were in the World Series last year. They did get there.
This isn't a bad team that they're playing. They're playing a good.
The record shows that they're mediocre, but records don't always show what you are, especially when you're in a division like they are in. Like the Braves are good in their division. You want to talk about the Mets? They're bad. But the Marlins, they're the best team that's in the wild card race. And, even though the Mets are bad, they're still competitive. Like, they play in a much tougher division than the Cubs. And, they come to Wrigley and they're playing well right now. And they know that they need to keep playing well to even have a shot in the division or even get into the wild card, which right now they're probably thinking more so wild card because the Braves are running away. So, they know that these games are just as important. Like, we sit here and talk about how, the Cubs have to play well in this next stretch because of playoff implications and all this. It's the same things happen in the same dugout for the Phillies. And their fan base is talking about the same thing that we're saying. So you're not going to get any letdowns from some of these teams that they're playing on this stretch of 13 games. You know what I mean? So it's frustrating. Yes. Like this whole thing since the Mancini era in London. Yes, it's frustrating. And I agree to a standpoint that the vibes are off right now, these last 3 games, and they got to get that mojo back. And hopefully Kyle Hendricks can help them tomorrow with that. And we'll get to that. But we haven't really talked about Drew Smyly, and we have to, because he's not been good in June. He hasn't been good in June. He's given up 5 homers in June. I think it's 13 on the season, 13 on the year now, 13 or 14 on the year now. Don't let the facts get in the way of a good story. He goes 3 2/3 tonight, 9 hits, 7 earned, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts. Felt like he had the good first inning, and then it was just bad after that. And because Tyone was unable to go 5 innings or go deeper last night, I felt like David Ross left him out there to try and see if he could do or replicate what he did in his last home start where he gave up 5 earned, but he was able to somehow give you better innings later in the game, and he ended up getting the win, I believe, in that game because the Cubs were able to come back and win that game. It was the game the Cubs trailed 5-1 against the Pirates. They came back and won. I felt like David Ross was trying to do that again tonight. That way he didn't have to use the bullpen. Didn't work out this time. Because if he takes him out after he gives up the 3-run homer by Castellanos, it's 5-0, and the Cubs end up scoring 4. Who knows? Like, it's a lot. Like, the situation's a lot different for the Phillies bullpen, obviously, and the game perhaps goes differently if he brings in Wisniewski earlier or whoever. You know what I mean? So that's probably my one gripe on Ross tonight is, like, it was already shown that Smyly wasn't doing great, but the hard contact that they kept coming at him with, I felt like they probably should have just been done after the 3rd inning. And I think that's how I felt about Smyly tonight. Yeah,
it was pretty clear that they were hitting him hard. And I think there is something to the fact that when you have 13 games in 13 days as a manager, you're mindful of how you're using your bullpen, and to some extent there's probably some thinking on Ross's part about, if I go to my bullpen really early here, what does that, where does that put us going forward? They were fortunate on Tuesday night that Assad was able to give them 3 innings, and really fortunate tonight that Wisniewski gave them, 4 plus, and really did well. That's for as tough as Smyly was, Wisniewski looked really, really good. So that, I think, if you're looking for a tiny little bit of a silver lining and how the last 2 nights have gone, it's that the bullpen use has been minimal. Yeah. And as you're kind of rolling over back to the better part of your rotation, hopefully then that's, where you're going to see them trend in the other direction, depending on how good Kyle Hendricks looks tomorrow night.
Yeah.
But Wisniewski gave them, 4 1/3, only gave up 2 hits. One was a solo homer to Josh Harrison.
Of course, it was Josh Harrison, the smallest guy on their team, probably.
But that's as best as you can hope for given the situation, because it does hopefully put them in a good spot going forward, where the rest of those bullpen arms have really now been pretty well rested, because there's a lot of guys in the bullpen that haven't had to touch the ball in the last 3 days.
Yeah. The Smyly thing, I remember when he gave up 6 runs his first start of the year against the Reds in Cincinnati. I remember the chat, people just going off saying, why did we bring this guy back? This guy stinks, blah, blah, blah. And then it started an unreal run by him. Like, even I got a little mind blown by it. We got to see the almost perfect game. He had a bunch of, 5-6 inning starts, giving up less than 3 runs in each start. And then June came, and especially at home, he hasn't been good. He gave up the 5 runs in his last home start, gives up the 7 tonight. And even last week in Pittsburgh, even though he gave up 0 earned, he walked 5, and he just kind of scathed through 5 innings, and you felt like, man, we're lucky that we're playing the Pirates. At least that's how I felt.
Right.
Or at least we're playing the Pirates at a point where they're not playing well, and they were unable to take advantage of any of his walks and, the hard contact that he had given up. So, yeah, it's just, I think his first start in June was against the Padres where, it was kind of iffy too. So I don't know if it's just, how every starter, they go through those rough stretches.
Yeah.
They don't exactly always have the best. Like, Drew Smyly coming the year, we were hoping he'd be the number 4 starter. And then because Tyone's been so bad frankly bad,
It's shifted the expectations a little bit. Yeah.
People are asking more from Smyly because he did almost throw a perfect game, and he did have a bunch of really good starts against some good teams. And so to see what he's done this month, it's like I understand fans, being frustrated and wondering what the heck's going on. But when you look at it in the grand scheme, it's like, this is Drew Smyly. This is like, he's got like a 4 ERA, and he has good starts and he has bad starts. Like, it's not like we're watching Verlander go out there and have the struggles that he's had this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's Drew Smyly, who's a veteran pitcher who mainly throws his curveball and doesn't have any velocity, and he relies a lot on location, a lot like Stroman and Hendricks, and that is, I think what we're seeing from him is, at least this month, is just a little bit of who he has been throughout his career. Good starts, bad starts, and by the end of the year, you see the season-ending numbers, and you're like, oh, he's a solid 3-4 starter. You know what I mean? Right. So
it's good to remember that after having watched a start like this one, where it's tempting to overreact. There were some good things tonight. I want to give a shout out to my fellow Jared Young, first career home run,
yes.
And that wasn't like a cheap one either. He didn't hit it into the basket. That was pretty
425 feet, I believe.
425. So Jared Young up with the Cubs for the second time in his career. He had a brief stint last September and then got called up yesterday, but made his first start tonight and went deep. So shout out to Jared Young.
First career homer.
He got to take that, Slaughter.
Don't get Gary all up in his feelings, Braggs. Come on now. It was good to see him come up and make an impact immediately. I like the spot they had him in the lineup tonight. I think he was batting 7th. And they said he's been hitting righties well. Well, Aaron Nola's a righty, and he showed that, right?
That's what.
And
Ross,
then even his second at bat, and this was like a major rally killer. They had a couple guys on. Yeah. He hits 102 mile an hour liner that I think it was technically a ground out, but he hit it really hard, but right at second base. They turned the double play, and it ends the inning. I had like a 5.10 expected batting average. Like, it's just. Like, that's a little bit of the bad luck that you kind of mentioned earlier.
Exactly, and
obviously that bad luck goes away when you just hit homers. But at the same time, like, he had already had a homer in the game. Like, I'm not going to get mad at him for not hitting a homer there. It's just like, that's a situation where you want to see a guy put the ball in play and see what happens. And then that one time it didn't work.
Didn't work out.
That's baseball, unfortunately, and that's why I hate sports.
I'd also like to quickly display my power to Gary. I have now completely edited a comment to make it look like he doesn't like Slaughter. He didn't say this at all.
Poor Gary.
I just put
Young,
that.
greater than signed Slaughter. Oh man.
He didn't. I just see.
Hey,
that's my power.
Don't
Gary.
make producer Braggs mad, or he'll
doesn't lie. We all see it. Sorry, Gary. But no, that's one of the things Ross told us yesterday before the game was that they know that Jared Young is going to just mash righties, and so he gets a start against a right-handed pitcher and does exactly that. So that's a good thing. And of course, Dansby Swanson got his 9th homer of the season. So that's definitely some good things in tonight's game. But obviously the final results, not making everybody happy. So maybe if they need a pick-me-up, maybe it's time to go to Sunnyside.
Oh, what a transition.
Look at that.
Look at you. You didn't even come in here and do this, and you just did this? Wow. Remember this moment. Where were you when Jared Wyllys had the best transition since Luke Stuckmeyer went on vacation?
Yeah, in the long time that it's been. But no, Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer, maybe even after a tough Cubs loss. It is a one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs, no matter where you are in your cannabis journey. They have easy online ordering and in-store pickup, and a great transparent loyalty program, Sunnyside Rewards. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, from city to suburbs, Wrigleyville to River North, even Champaign to South Beloit. And Sunnyside would like to know, which Chicago athlete made you feel good this week?
Justin Steele. I still haven't forgot about his start on Saturday. It hasn't been a week since then, so I'm excited for his next start. So
yeah, good pick.
Yeah.
If I can stray from baseball just a little bit, we were talking about this earlier. I'm not a hockey guy, but I gotta say the newest Chicago athlete, Connor Bedard,
there you go,
making me feel good. I might even watch some hockey games.
Yeah, the new shirt we just dropped for it's pretty sick. So you should go check that out.
Go check that out for sure. Buy
if
yourself.
If you're a diehard, you get it 20% off.
All right, but if you go to Sunnyside, you can check out a few of their special selections. In particular, the Mindy's, which is their best tasting gummy and chocolate edibles, which are created by James Beard award-winning chef Mindy Segal and Cresco Labs. So through August, head to sunnyside.shop and use code CHGO25 at checkout for 25% off your total order. One use per customer, not stackable with other promotions. That's not only for new customers, anyone can use our code. Pick up everything you need to elevate your summer. Must be 21 or older, or an Illinois med card holder.
Yeah, and after you go to Sunnyside, maybe your eyes will be open. You want to go to college. That's kind of how it happened for me back in the day. Students are just like me or you, full-time jobs, families, full-time sports fandoms. Go back to school to learn a respected degree at Lewis University, 35 miles southwest of Chicago and Romeoville, ranked as one of U.S. News and Report's top-tier colleges. Lewis partners with numerous employers for tuition discounts and offers evening, online, and blended formats to help you balance work, family, and education. Faculty bring real-world experience and instruction to the classroom, which is immediately relevant to your career. We offer career support and academic resources for adult students. If you're looking to complete your bachelor's or master's degree or enroll in a professional certification program or certificate program, Lewis has the right program for you. Lewis offers several career-focused programs that will set you up for success. We're just going to highlight one here, the Lewis program in data science. Sounds exactly like something I would have done if I didn't do CHGO Cubs podcast.
Delmetrics.
Delmetrics, baby. That's what I'm talking about. So discover how a degree from Lewis can help you build a better world. Learn more at lewisu.edu/you-can-do-this. Luke, I hope you're really proud if you're watching and you heard me and Jared do those ads. Anyway, I don't know how much there is left from this game to really discuss.
Sometimes you have those games that are just...
Barbara, Braggs is like getting my attention.
I love Barb's nightly
Barb says she has an
updates.
overactive bladder. It keeps her up at night. Listen, we've all been there, Barb, especially on a night like tonight.
I saw that Barb mentioned that the last time she had an edible, she passed out on the floor. Barb, you don't have to take the whole
wild
thing.
card. The wild card that she is.
You can cut them into smaller pieces.
We got 27 likes, and how many are watching, Braggs? 75.
75.
We have 75 people watching and only 27 likes. I am once again asking you all to pound the like button. Did we read all the super chats?
We have a couple more from Joe and Steven, so
all right,
we'll shoot
let's do
through
those, and then we can do second segment here. Joe says that's because they are a mentally weak team. I think he's referring to like the jet lag or whatever. I don't think they're a mentally weak team just based off what we've seen. Because you could also say after they got swept by the Angels that they would just fall apart even more, and we really would be talking about selling at the deadline. Instead, they won 11 of the next 13. So I don't think I wouldn't go that far, at least for me personally.
Joe, I'll say thank you for the super chat, but no.
Yeah. Steven also, another super chat. Thank you for all the super chats tonight so far. He says, remove Tyone from the rotation and drop Mancini to DH/pitch hitting role. Hoyer and Ross need to swallow their pride and make tough decisions. Listen, the Mancini thing with Jared Young coming to the team, I think that we're only really going to see Mancini against lefties and in a pitch hitting role. As far as Tyone, we kind of talked about it on last night's show. I think he's definitely going to make his next 2 starts before the All-Star break. And if those also don't go well, then I do think that they have to make a decision on, the quote-unquote phantom IL or something like that, before the deadline. Because if I understand it's the Central and they're, despite being 4 games under, they're still only 4.5 back and all this. But you have a farm system full of young arms that have promise. I mean, Ben Brown has entered the top 100 prospects for MLB Pipeline. I'm even after Wesneski start tonight, I'm willing to see him going back into the rotation or maybe be in like a piggyback role with Assad or someone like that and roll with it that way. I think that's more of a formula of winning as well if they were to do something like that, if they were good at it. Because if they tried it and it didn't work, then you're taxing your bullpen and then you're just hurting yourself. But, they do have some young arms that not only am I, people in the chat, even you, Jared, like I think people are intrigued about. The Cubs are intrigued about. They need to learn about some of these guys in this, whether it's the next month or in the second half of the season. And yeah, I mean, when we talked about Tyone last night, it's like he just has to be better, man. Because you're not seeing a full game from him. Like the first 2 innings were bad last night from him, but then he retired 7 straight. But then he gave up a 3 spot, and the Cubs are down 5-0 or whatever it was, and they eventually lose 5-1. So again, not trying to talk about Tyone a lot, but I would say that my leash is 2 more starts, and if there's no improvement, then you really do need to start talking about like the phantom IL or something.
Yeah, and I think that's it is a tough call, but I think it's also helpful to keep in mind that you're telling a player, it's easy for us to say that.
Yeah,
you're telling a player you're going to take some time off. Mm-hmm. These are competitive guys who want to be out there, and I know from talking to Tyone that he's working his butt off in between starts. He's feeling really good about the work that he's doing. He was visibly frustrated in the post game last night.
Yeah.
So I think it's easier said than done to go to him and say, "Hey, why don't you take 15 days off?" But I do get the question.
Maybe a bullpen role. Like
right.
I don't know. Like
I get the question.
It's not like they can option him to Iowa because they have to ask his permission for that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so like I'm just saying in terms of like the Cubs need to win some games, and it just feels like he's setting them back every time he goes out. He can never. It feels like every first inning of his starts, it's like give up. I mean, 2 batters in last night, he gave up a run. You know what I mean? Like if these next 2 starts for him, in my opinion, are huge in terms of what they're going to do with the rotation moving forward. The only blessing in disguise for it is that most of the rotation has been very good all season until Drew Smyly had this start. So, like, if Drew Smyly continues to struggle and he struggles, then you really have some issues that we really haven't had to talk about all season. You know what I mean? And that's what makes it frustrating about this Cubs team all season is the fact that they've had one of the best starting rotations in the National League, and they're 4 under. And the big reason that they're 4 under is because they either can't score enough runs or their bullpen went through the really tough stretch where they couldn't get anyone out. Right. And they've lost games that Tyone has pitched. They're 2-11 when he pitches. Like it's there's a lot of like things that go into why they're 4 under despite having a really good starting rotation. But basically it has been Stroman and Steele being like the workhorses that have made that starting rotation great. And Hendricks has been good since he came back too.
Yeah. I mean, you right now, I think you have at least 3 guys that are very reliable. And yeah, there's with Taillon, you've invested 4 years and $68 million into the guy. So they're, for good or bad, this is the investment that you made. For what it's worth, when you look at some of his numbers this season, like, the hard hit rate, the barrel rate, he's had, I was looking at this earlier today, he has by far the highest barrel rate this year of his career. When he was with the Pirates, his barrel rate was usually around 4%. With the Yankees for 2 seasons, it went up to about 8%, but this season it's up around 12%.
Yeah.
So he talked about it after last night's game, but he mentioned there's certain pitches that he's not getting to the spot in the zone where he's used to getting them. And he's now having this sort of weird thing where left-handed hitters are hitting really well against him. Their left-handed batters have an OPS of, I think, 1.081 against him. And he said it last night, like, this was never a thing for me until it sort of became a thing. And now he goes up against lineups where it's a bunch of lefties, because I think the Phillies sent up 6 left-handed batters last night, and it worked.
It works.
So,
yeah, it's a very frustrating thing. And so, again, Taillon didn't start tonight, so I don't want to talk a ton about him. But, yeah, if Smyly continues this stretch too, then you really do have
similar
some
sorts
issues.
of questions.
Yeah. I do like Barb's idea. She says give Taillon some day off. He could hang with Stuckey. maybe Stuck will get him in the –
set him straight.
Yeah, get him in his own pitch lab, I guess.
They both have small bladders.
Yeah, there you go. I'm reading the chat still. People talking about Wicks getting called up to Iowa. I believe today. Technically, I think he was supposed to start tonight in Iowa. I haven't checked to see what he did, but
last I had seen, he hadn't officially been activated yet by Iowa. So, we'll something to keep an eye on.
Keep an eye on. We do know this. Patrick Wisdom is headed to.
Speaking of Iowa.
Yeah, speaking of Iowa, Patrick Wisdom is going there on a rehab assignment, which I think we talk about having no power or not enough power. I know he struggled since April's ended. K rate's well above 40% during that stretch. They do need that threat, and I'm intrigued to see how they use him when he comes back and who they option when he does come back, because obviously Madrigal's played well enough to continue playing third, as much as I don't want him to play third base specifically because he just isn't the type of built player to play third.
Defensively, it's not his. Yeah, it's not the spot for him.
Yeah, like he's played well. He's had some nice plays there tonight, but as we've talked about, he's just not the style of player you want at third every single day. But, again, he's hitting, and you need to play him. How do you get Wisdom in there? Do you play him at first base some? I know he can play a little outfield, but we know he's not, like, a lead out there. So, to me, considering the situation at first base, I feel like maybe that's where they get him in sometimes, or DH. But then that might take away at-bats from Morel unless they put him in, the outfield. And if Seiya continues to struggle, then maybe he does stay in right field on some of those days. But
that's the kind of thing that any manager will tell you it's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
I have more multiple bats that I'm trying to find spots for. But yeah, when he does come back, there's going to be that question of, all right, whose spot is he going to take? Where is he going to fit in?
Yeah.
But he will, you hope, when Wisdom is able to return, that he's going to add some power back to that lineup, because he was the kind of hitter where, he's not going to hit for a high average. He is going to strike out kind of a lot, but he's also a serious power threat. So he can give you, some of those, maybe those big hits that they've been lacking here a little bit lately. He's the guy that can start to provide some of those. So
yeah. Some other news, Brandon Hughes, he underwent a surgical, what is the word? Debridement on his left knee, and he'll begin a rehab program immediately. There's no telling on like if he'll make it back for the rest of the season. I don't really know.
Well, I doubt it. Because it was his spot on the 40-man roster that Jared Young took. So it looks very much like the plan for Hughes is you're done for this year, but work on that rehab so that you can be back next
Hopefully
season.
he can come back next year, because coming into this year I was really excited about him because I felt like the Cubs finally found a left-handed reliever that they developed themselves, and it just didn't work out. And I hope it mainly is because of injury and not because he just lost it all. You know what I mean? Everyone knows that Seiya sat out with a stiff neck tonight, and I only mention that just because we were just talking about wisdom, and the offense wasn't that much better with Seiya not in there tonight, but Seiya, hopefully I do want to see him back in there tomorrow, because to me it was just like, give him a night off. He's really been struggling in June. But you still have to play him. He's still your better defensive right fielder. There was a ball that Morel came really close to today that, who knows, maybe Seiya doesn't make it either, but at the very least, he's your best defensive right fielder. And, when he didn't start the season with the team those 2 weeks in April, this chat, me, everyone, it's Luke, Ryan, maybe not Ryan, but Corey, Brendan, like we all sat here and complained about the defense in right field and left us remembering how good Jason Hayward was in right field for most of the Golden era. Right. And so
you need that defense.
You got to play Seiya every day unless this offensive stretch really keeps going into July. And then if that is the case, then I don't know. But I don't want to think about that yet.
Take it a day at a time.
Yeah.
He's back in the lineup tomorrow.
Right.
You hope. And things will be looking
now,
up.
For this segment, I thought this would be good just because, and I felt like Luke Stuckmeyer when I typed this into Notion. Obviously the Blackhawks, first overall draft pick tonight, they took Connor Bedard. I'm not a big hockey guy. I tweeted myself, I was like, explain Connor Bedard to me in baseball terms or in Cubs terms. And so then my mentions are just like Mike Trout, Chris Bryant, but with Mike Trout like talent and all this. So I'm asking you, Jared, what Cubs player kind of or I guess is kind of the same feeling or the hype as Connor Bedard getting drafted by the Blackhawks?
Well, it's funny you should mention Chris Bryant, but that was my first thought, was thinking back to 2015 when Bryant was called up. Those, what was it, 2 weeks into the season in April that year? Because when he was first sent down, and it was sort of with that, wink, he's got to work on some stuff, but we all knew what was really going on. But the day that he finally got called up, there was an excitement in the air. There were, I remember people I was with who were talking about like, hey, Chris Bryant's with the Cubs, and checking box scores to see what was going on. That to me, if you're talking about recent history, the hype for Bryant's debut was pretty legit. That's the first guy that came to mind. Maybe if you go a little farther back, Starlin Castro, he had a great debut in 2010.
No one said that to me. That's a good one, though. Right. Yeah, I do remember his debut. Yeah, his debut was
People should
incredible.
go back and look at Starlin Castro's first game with the Cubs.
His first few seasons with the Cubs was unbelievable. He had like multiple 200-hit seasons.
He was a great hitter, or even a little further back, Kosuke Fukudomi, an opening day, hit the homer.
And there was a lot of hype for him whenever he signed that free agent contract.
Absolutely. But
I think honestly, I think you might even argue more hype than Seiya Suzuki.
Definitely.
Because when Fukudome signed, that team was supposed to be good going into that year.
Right. That was
Seiya signed when we knew that they weren't going to be good last year. So
2008 was a season that there were real high expectations that year. But I think the guy who comes the closest to the hype that I feel like we've experienced with Bedard is probably Chris Bryant.
Yeah. As far as like a guy getting drafted, I mean, he was even taken second overall. Maybe Mark Pryor is another one who was drafted pretty high. Obviously, Pryor and Bryant, the injury factor has led their careers to a point where we hope that doesn't happen for Bedard if you're a Blackhawks fan.
Oh, man, I feel like we should do something to reverse the potential jinx.
A lot of knocking on wood here. A lot of knocking on wood here. It's an exciting time for Chicago hockey, as some say. But, what about, a player coming up soon that gives that same type of hype, like maybe PCA or Cade Horton in 2025, probably. I mean, if Cade Horton comes up next year, that'd be unreal.
I think Pete Crow Armstrong that's the most excitement I've seen about a Cubs prospect in probably 7 or 8 years. So, if you want to talk about guys that haven't been called up yet, PCA is one. Future seems bright, that's for sure, for both the Blackhawks and maybe even the Cubs.
Yeah. Nick Madrigal, supporter, says no Cubs prospects compared to Bedard. Stop smoking a blunt. We're not comparing them to Bedard. We're just saying the hype.
We already did the sunny side.
Yeah, we already. Yeah, and we already did do the sunny side ad, dude. Come on, man. Anyway, again, Cubs lose 8-5, and the vibes are not great. But what can be great is if you get your Shady Rays and put your Shady Rays on when you go to look at the box score tomorrow. That way you can shade your eyes from the pain that is the Chicago Cubs on June 28th, 2023. Take on the sun with gear built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered for the warm weather ahead with premium polarized shades at an affordable price. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers a world-class product that's just as good as any expensive pair we've worn. Durable frames and extremely clear optics for outdoor adventures. That's not all, folks. Shady Rays offers the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair of sunglasses is backed by lost and broken replacements. If you lose or break your pair, even on day one, they told us they will send you a brand new pair. No questions asked. Wear your Shady Rays with confidence because they have your back long after you purchase. Together with their customers, Shady Rays is providing much needed support to nonprofit partners across the U.S. through Shady Rays Impact, from building play sets for pediatric cancer patients to providing young adults with MS the outdoor adventure of a lifetime. Shady Rays is making an impact in your community and others like it now and for years to come. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk. When you shop, their team always has your back. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal this season. Go to shadyrays.com. Use code CHGO for 50% off 2 pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people. And also, oh no, that's for Independence Day. Never mind. I'm not going to read that. Sorry.
Well, speaking of their durability, this is a true story. I got myself 2 pair of Shady Rays.
Okay.
And within a few weeks of getting them, the one pair, I had it clipped in my shirt one day and it dropped out, hits the ground hard. The lens even popped out. And I was thinking, I came close to crying. I picked it up. I got the lens back in there, popped it right back in. Those things are, I swear to you, as good as new. So
yeah,
I love durable. They really are.
So I actually lost my Shady Rays. I still don't know where they're at. Like I don't know where they possibly could be. And so I'm going to be just like Ryan, who's going to join us here after we read this next ad. I'm going to be getting a hold of them to, get a replacement pair because I missed them. And I have another pair of sunglasses at home that aren't Shady Rays, and they just do not fit my face the same.
Not the same.
And the vibes are so much worse without them too. So, you know what increases vibes? It's lights, like bright lights, these bright lights shining on us, all due to the ComEd Energy Efficiency Program, which is committed to helping families and businesses in the communities they serve, helping manage energy usage and lower energy bills now and into the future, Jared.
Yeah, ComEd offers a wide variety of incentives on lighting and other efficiency upgrades to commercial, industrial, and public sector customers of all sizes across the territory. ComEd also offers free facility assessments that can help find energy-saving opportunities, like for HVAC systems, commercial kitchen equipment, or industrial processes.
Ooh, how's it work?
An authorized engineer will work with you to develop a detailed assessment plan specific to your goals and needs. These can be done in person or virtually and last approximately 2 hours. And within 3 to 4 weeks, customers will receive a report detailing energy efficiency projects that they can start working on immediately. Each recommendation will include estimated energy savings, cost savings, project cost, potential incentives, and simple payback. If you own a business, don't wait. Get started saving money and energy today. For energy saving tips, lighting incentives, or to schedule your free facility assessment, go to comed.com/poweringbiz.
Did you say comed.com/poweringbiz, Jared?
I sure did. Schedule it today.
All right. Just in time, the man, the myth, the legend. Some are saying, I'm only saying it one time because I can't be that nice to him. Ryan Herrera has joined the show, and he looks tired from beautiful historic Wrigley Field.
Yeah, it was a long day. Yeah, but I'm happy that you were nice to me for once. It
yeah,
feels good.
You know,
feels good.
So sometimes you gotta sacrifice something to get the vibes up, and that's how I decided to do it. Obviously, Smyly not great tonight. Ryan, were you able to talk to him after the ball game?
Yeah, we were able to talk to Smyly. That second inning is really. I mean, I know he got roughed up a little bit later on, but that second inning was 5 runs, I want to say. Yeah. That was the inning that kind of did him in. So for Smyly, he said, I think it was just like, the Phillies have a good lineup, regardless of how, inconsistent, I guess is the word I'd say. They've been like the whole year. They have a lot of good hitters on there. And I think, Smyly didn't do a great job. He said the curveball maybe wasn't working as well as it had all season for him. But there was, I want to say maybe Castellanos' home run was on a curve that was actually like it was low. I think it was out of the zone low, and he just managed to get it. And I think he hit into the basket. So there was a few of those where it was just like good piece of hitting over bad pitch. It was. Yeah. Solid enough pitch.
It's
just
out in
that
17 of the 30 ballparks.
Yeah, something like that. I think even Sosa's wasn't a hit far. I think it was only 21 of 30 ballparks too. Mm-hmm. So it was more of there was a lot of better pieces of hitting than bad pitching by Smyly. But I mean, when you give up 7 earned runs for him today, something like that, you give that up in 3 2/3 innings. Like it wasn't a great day for him in the mound, and Smyly acknowledged that. It just he said the Phillies did a good job of putting the bat on the ball. Again, was just able to even beat him on better pitches. He's someone that the Cubs have been able to kind of rely on for consistent innings. And Cody, I was able to tune in a little bit earlier, and you kind of mentioned like this is kind of Smyly, like this is who they're kind of paying him to be. Like he's not an ace. Like he's not Stroman that you're going to go out and it's win day, right? I think what they've called like win day for Stroman. Smyly might give you. This is probably on the lower end of the starts he's given, really since like last August or July-ish, whenever he came back from that oblique. This is definitely on the lower end of it. You hope obviously that he's going to bounce back from this one. This is about as bad of a start as you expect out of him. But generally, we kind of got accustomed to him being able to go out and get through 5 innings, and even if it's like 3 earned runs or 3 runs, whatever it is, through 5, like that still gives the Cubs a chance to win. That's kind of what we've come to expect out of Smyly. Didn't happen today, but veteran pitcher, lefty, has been pretty consistent for the last going on a year now in a Cubs uniform. I think it's a bad night, turns the page, comes back out the next time out, and I think he is due for a better outing for sure.
I see Fernando in the chat. He says it's the air quality that beat him down. Ryan looked tired, as in relating to you, but obviously the air quality wasn't. I don't think it was nearly as bad as yesterday. Was there any talk related to that tonight? Because I know yesterday, in your opinion, you said that you were surprised they played the game. The game obviously wasn't in question tonight, but you think there's any effects from that to maybe that goes into how they've played the last 2 games?
Well, I don't know, and I don't know that we can know until we kind of see how they feel. Once the smoke finally clears, I guess. It wasn't as bad. I mean, there was still smoke kind of in all around the sky, and you could feel it out there. Yeah. I guess looking at the air quality index or whatever, it wasn't as bad as like it was yesterday. Talking to Carter Hawkins pregame, Ross pregame, like it wasn't really as much a conversation about postponing the game today as it was last night. I don't know. We talked to players yesterday and today. Got feedback from any of them, and they mentioned like small things like being able to kind of taste the smoke or maybe get a little stuffy or a little bit of a headache or something, but like nothing too big that they feel affected their games too much. Um, you know, athletes sometimes downplay a lot of things. You can ask Jared, like injury type things, like gets downplayed a lot by the athletes. So I don't know that I'm saying this is an apples to apples comparison, but they may just be downplaying the effects of it. I don't know. I don't know that I can't say with any certainty that the smoke and just the atmosphere and all this, the elements, really has had a huge effect on them if they won't tell me that. It could have, and I guess maybe we'll see in a few days the smoke's gone and maybe they get back to winning some ball games and playing better. But for right now, it remains to be seen that that's the thing.
Yeah, and it would stand to reason too that if we're going to factor that in, the smoke, it's affecting both teams. So it's not necessarily putting anybody at a disadvantage.
Didn't slow the Phillies' bats down
right.
tonight.
So it's not as if the smoke is affecting one side of the one dugout and not the other.
Yeah.
But Ryan, you mentioned like Carter Hawkins spoke before the game today, and I know there are a lot of people who and some of that probably has to do with the team having a couple of tough games in a row, but we start talking about, well, what about this prospect or that guy, and call up this guy, bring him up. I know Carter must have spoken about the status of some of these prospects. What did he have to say about some of these guys?
Yeah, so like a Jordan Wicks being promoted to AAA, kind of talked about just a lot of it has just been Wicks consistently doing what he's needed to do to kind of earn that kind of that promotion. He mentioned he had about 20 starts. I think he had exactly 20 starts at high A and maybe 21 starts at double A now. So it's like that the sample, I guess, that they've wanted to see at both those levels, they've seen what they've needed to see out of Jordan Wicks. Carter mentioned that it's just like, he's doing the things that he's needed to do to get that promotion. They like, that he continues to throw strikes. He mixes his pitches well, has a plus changeup, competes on the mound, pitches smart. And, this is actually a quote that I got intrigued by Hawkins. And he said, we felt like he was really ready for the challenge of AAA, and we're excited about his ability to get there and start being a major league option for us here at some point. So that's obviously high praise, but just the fact that the thought that he may become a major league option even relatively soon is like pretty good for a guy that was drafted in not 2 years ago, right? Like it's 2021, their first round pick. So I know he was a little bit more accomplished as a college pitcher, but that's a pretty quick rise for someone that maybe isn't have the best stuff or whatever it is for a pitching prospect, but just kind of goes out there and gets outs and impresses the guys upstairs. Pete Crow Armstrong was another guy that was talked about, selected for the Futures game earlier this week, and was asked kind of pretty much was asked about like when's Pete Crow Armstrong getting promoted to AAA. Didn't give like a timeline on that, but did mention that PCA has continued to play like outstanding defense in the outfield. They've seen improvements in the plate discipline. The walk rate has gone up this year at AA compared to last year at high A. So they are happy to see what he's doing at AA right now. He mentioned that those conversations about a promotion to AAA will probably start at some point in the second half. Again, didn't give like a clear date, right, on when that might happen, but it does feel like what Pete Crow Armstrong has managed to do this first half of 2023 is kind of he's knocking on the door of AAA, and it felt like Hawkins kind of acknowledged that.
Well, that's exciting because I did in the offseason, we did kind of talk about Jordan Wicks as being a guy that we might see this year. PCA, we thought maybe a cup of coffee at the end of the year. Who knows? That's my fair expectation for that. As much as I would absolutely get up to watch that if he got the call to come to the Cubs before the end of the year and play meaningful games. But Jordan Wicks, yeah, that's exciting that that quote that Ryan said that he had. We'll see, because I'm such a believer in some of these young arms down there, not only in Iowa but even in Double-A. And Jordan Wicks is one of those guys. Your first round pick in 2021, and he's shown all he's done in the minors is have success. He hasn't shown any real major weaknesses, and so yeah, I'm excited to see how he does at Triple-A. I hope they don't want him to make 20 starts at Triple-A personally, but whatever we got to do. So, all right, should we do who you got?
I think we should.
Anything else? Is there anything else that we need to know?
Anything else we should know, Ryan?
Another thing from Carter, just basically the regarding the trade deadline. I think we're still at the point where they haven't made any definitive decisions on the direction, and he just kind of mentioned stuff that Jed has talked about the last couple weeks, and David Ross continues to talk about is the players are going to go and do what they have to do on a day-to-day basis. And as from the front office standpoint, it's like they just got to keep winning, right? They got to keep doing the things that they were doing that got them on this hot stretch. I know that, they've dropped 3 in a row. I want to say they're now 4.5 behind the Reds for first place. So falling a little bit back, but it's more of they just need to see the Cubs go out and win more games, do the things that they were doing that made them successful for the last couple of weeks, make up some more ground. The question of do they have to be above 500 to be a buyer, right? Like that, it felt like from that conversation, the fact that they're so-and-so number of games out of first place for kind of maybe trumps we need to be above 500 before we can buy. So that's something to keep an eye on is, can they stay in this fight? Can they stay within a few games of whoever's at the top, whoever's in first place? That may be a better indicator of what the Cubs end up deciding to do at the trade deadline versus they haven't gotten to 500 yet, and it's early to mid-July. That's I think where they stand as far as games back in the division will be a better indicator of what direction they might ultimately go in when it comes to the trade deadline.
Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes a ton of sense. And I think that when it comes to that, we're just really not going to know until after the All-Star break, I feel.
Yeah.
And that's why this stretch of 13 games is so important, and them to be 0-2 in the stretch so far is frustrating. And I understand why people in the chat are frustrated and blaming Tyone and tonight blaming Smyly and keep going back to the Mancini thing on Sunday. I get it. I absolutely get it. So, people in the chat are also saying that Domingo Germán had a perfect game for the Yankees tonight.
I got the alert on my phone.
Against Oakland. Must be nice to throw a perfect game against a Triple-A team. Congratulations.
Ooh.
Wow.
Did I go there?
Harsh.
You did.
But a perfect game is a perfect game, so that's awesome. Good for him. Okay, who you got? Ryan had Hap. Corey had Morel. I took Madrigal. And Brendan had Swanson, and you took...
I took my fellow Jared
Young. Yeah. Madrigal had 3 hits. Swanson had the home run. Your guy had the home run. Hap and Morel, I think, are...
Probably out of
there.
Morel deserves some acknowledgement for that working that walk, but no, I don't think...
He had the RBI walk, right?
Yeah.
It was probably the biggest moment of the game, the loudest cheer of the entire game for Cubs fans, right? We don't have the commissioner Luke Stuckmeyer here, but I am a man of integrity, though, and I'm willing to let Jared have this one. And I think, if I give this to you, you're going to start sending a pick in every day.
I will.
Okay.
So
how do you feel about this, Ryan? His guy hit his first career home run, his first at bat of the season.
My first who you got win. This is a special day for for us Jareds.
I didn't win, so I'll let you guys just kind of battle
This
it
is,
out.
again, I'm a man of integrity. You remember this the next time whenever I'm calling for myself to win.
I will
okay?
vouch for you
Yes.
because of this moment.
Yeah.
So
Also, if Madrigal gets a win, then he's going to start sucking again. So we got to
You
do
don't wanna
whatever
jinx-
we.
yeah.
Yeah, we got to. I
it.
saved Nick Madrigal's career, and I firmly believe that. So I'm not giving him any who you got wins. So that Ryan, you wouldn't believe this. I actually went through and added up all our wins since last Wednesday, which would honestly only be 3 games. But
Beautiful.
Luke is leading all of us right now. So while he's on vacation, it's your time to try and make a comeback here. All right.
There we go.
But you're 15 out of 56 or 15 and 56. Corey is now 17 and 53. I am 10 and 63. Brendan is 9 and 28. The producers are 4 and 11. They were 3 and 11, but with Kevin taking Nico yesterday, he got the producers their 4th pick, and now
and I'm undefeated.
Jared is 1 and 0 in his last one.
I have
Baby.
the best winning percentage in this
Yeah.
whole group.
All right.
And I took Otani.
Braggs, he's going to take Otani
triple
every day the
today.
rest of the season, that he's our producer, because we are not manifesting. We are just saying that Otani's going to be a Cub.
Promised Cody. He won't be hurt this time.
I'm not ready to be hurt, but okay. Cubs lose 8-5. It stunk. We're 0-2 since Luke Stuckmeyer went on vacation. That stinks.
Come back to us,
But tomorrow, Kyle Hendricks on the mound. Oh, also, I'm sorry. We forgot to do this. The taking care of business, the ComEd taking care of business player of the game, Jared Young. I think that goes well with who you got,
I love it.
right? ComEd.com/poweringbizz. That was really this is why Luke is better at this than me. So thank you, Braggs.
No,
for
you're
reminding
good.
me.
You're
Finding
good.
the groove.
Yeah.
You know, and I also saw a few people in the chat talking about the big story of the night for the Blackhawks, getting Connor Bedard. So I'd be remiss if we didn't share with the Cubs viewers here the new shirt release for tonight. A new king is in town here. So, hey, you know, positive vibes brought over from the Blackhawks side over here to the Cubs. Just thought I'd share that shirt along before we
It
call it a night.
it is a cool shirt.
It's
And
a very cool shirt.
everyone knows I'm not the biggest hockey guy, but I think I'm gonna buy that shirt because one, I love Back to the Future, and two, like I might as well just I want to buy every CHGO shirt except for a White Sox one, of course.
Like it.
I like the CHGO script, the black T-shirt, but it doesn't necessarily look like a White Sox shirt. It's just CHGO in black. You know what I mean? So
But let's all get that new Blackhawks shirt.
yeah, for sure. All right. Thank you, Braggs, for reminding me about the other ad we had to do.
You got you.
God bless you and your family. Tomorrow we'll be back post game. Try to avoid the sweep. Kyle Hendricks, I need him to put on the best lecture since his lecture in San Francisco. I need a lecture like that. I think the vibes will get right back up there if he throws an almost no hitter again.
Absolutely.
But good. We need the professor to be the professor tomorrow night at beautiful historic Wrigley Field. Was me, Jared, Corey?
That's correct.
I believe me, Jared, and Corey will be here tomorrow. Ryan will be at the ballpark, so he'll join us before the end of the show. And yeah, we're manifesting a win tomorrow, so we'll be here to celebrate the win tomorrow, right here, CHGO Sports YouTube channel. All right. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out, and let's fly the W tomorrow. See ya. How does Luke always end the show?